Well, this is Jordan Tower with JT News. Let's get into this right here.
Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe. Well, this is an interesting story. Now, Benzino and Dave Mays, I mean, these guys are obviously easily pushed the culture way forward with the Source magazine. I mean, this was a huge thing. I mean, it was just a huge publication. It was everything, like this was the magazine you ran to get. I forget, it came out once a month or something like that, but I remember going to grab it from a newsstand all the time and reading it on the train and everything when I was in high school. And then when I started getting into, music videos and everything and DVDs, I was always reading the Source. It's just super interesting. You got that, Feds magazine, all that kind of stuff. Anyways, Benzino and Dave Mays are, the Source, really. Like Dave Mays started the Source. He went to Harvard and hired some guys out of Harvard. John Schechter, who ran The Game. There was a company called The Game in New York. He ran that too, but he was co-founder of the Source. And James Bernard, Ed Young, and then they all went on to do the Source. Obviously Benzino was part of that. And then, so anyways, they moved from Massachusetts to New York City in 1990, and they kept going. So I wasn't reading the Source in 1990. I was way too young. But, I started reading it when I went to high school in the late 90s. But, this is 5 mics, the mic system, the different articles they did on people. It was amazing. And you got to give Dave Mays and Benzino their flowers for that publication. That was like everything in hip hop. That was huge. And they're always going to be legendary for that. Whether you think Benzino's a good rapper or not or whatever, Benzino was part of the Source. That's huge. So anyways, I never understood why the Source went away. I always thought it was because of Benzino. Benzino got the flack for it, okay? But he broke it down with Flip on Flip the Script, and it was really good breakdown of it. I mean, and it makes sense. Like, they were just way ahead of their time, the way Benzino puts it. Dave Mays took out a loan to build thesource.com in the late 90s. And we were still doing dial-up at that point. I mean, if it was 97-ish and all that, 98, and that's what he's talking about, dial-up was still there. So, it would have taken forever for the website to load. It would have been extremely costly to run a website. And he took out a huge loan to start this website. And, in retrospect, it was smart, but it was just too early. How are you going to do advertising on it and everything? It's like Google wasn't around then. I think it was Netscape that was around back then, So anyways, he takes out a $9 million loan with, what's his name? Not his old manager. Anyways, he takes out a $9 million loan, and they build this website. They get new offices and everything. Him and Steve Stout take out a $9 million loan. This is according to Benzino. And they built this website out and everything, and it crashes, I guess, at one point. Like when the .com, there was a .com crash, late 90s, crash and burn. But they still owe this $9 million, right? So, and obviously it wasn't generating a lot of money, but, the internet was headed this way. They were just, 10 years early, I would say, or, they were about 7 to 10 years early. Anyways, that loan had an 18% interest rate, compounded over time and years, balloons up, he said, up to the high 20s, low 30s, somewhere around there. They definitely owned twice the amount of money, so at least $20 to $30 million, somewhere in that range. And then he had the issue with Eminem. Eminem was signed to Interscope. Interscope, he said, accounted for 60% of their ads. Now, this is where Benzino made his error. There was a time when, Benzino and Eminem, they clashed. And Benzino was basically calling out Eminem. And he got this tape of Eminem rapping racial slurs against black women, and he felt like this would crush his career. Now, Interscope, Jimmy Iovine and Interscope warned them that, hey, don't put out that tape. Just don't put out that tape. And Benzino said, well, if you get me and Eminem in a room, I won't put out the tape. Of course, Eminem probably wouldn't have done that, and you can't just control Eminem. So they put the tape out, and then Interscope pulled 60% they pulled their 60% of ads in the source. They pulled it. So now they're left with 40% revenue, right? So it's like, 60% less. That hurts. You can't make your loan payments anymore. And you're forced into selling part of your magazine to Black Enterprise. And that's where the guy that he mentions bought a portion of the source. The guy's name was, let me pull up his name so it's accurate, Earl Graves, who was he ran Black Enterprise magazine, bought into the source. Now he says when he bought into the source, they added another board seat to the board, and they were able to control the votes on the board. I mean, this is how Steve Jobs got removed from his own company. If you have enough board seats against you, they could vote you out of your position in the company. And that's exactly what happened to Dave Mays and Benzino. But they were the secret sauce to the source, okay? You can't just buy something and make it run just the way it's running. There's certain things you just can't do that with. And one of those things is culture and music, just culture, period. Because music is culture. It's like you have to be in it, breathe it. When I was doing DVDs, if I just gave that DVD brand to another person, he couldn't do it the same because, and I couldn't even do it now. There's a certain connection you have to have to the music when you're doing something like that. It's like you got to have the pulse of music. You got to have your hand on that. And it's easy to lose that. That's why you see a lot of artists when they're trying to come back later, they don't have their pulse on the music anymore and see where things are headed and what people like. But when you're in that zone, you're in that zone and you know it's special, And Dave Mays and Benzino were in that zone. I think that the whole Eminem thing really derailed everything in the end. And having that monthly bill for that huge loan was like, it's just the looming thing to swallow you up if you make a mistake. And that's what happened. And that's how the source went down. It was one was just being too early and then making an error with revenue coming in, and not being able to cover a bad move. This happens to many companies. It's very hard to run a company, and I don't really fault them at all. I mean, they ran the company for, a good solid 15 years. I think they backed out around 2005. Eminem took them to court and everything about the tapes and everything, and I think that's around the same year that the board voted Benzino and Dave Mays out. They were doing a lot at the source. They had a award show that ran for 10 years, 94 to 2004. They had legendary moments. They had an apparel company. They tried to do a website. They did a lot of stuff. They had a lot of power. With a lot of power, a lot of things can go to your head too. I think we've all experienced power at one time, and it can make you think and make the wrong move sometimes. Power can get the best of you. But anyways, that's what happened with that. And then, he said him and Dave aren't speaking now because, 27 years they've been best friends, and then, they disagreed on a few things. Things got heated on the phone and they stopped talking to each other. But that happens. I think they'll be cool again. They had such a brothership for so long. And they said they lost everything when they lost the source because, they had all those loans and everything, so a lot of things happened. But I don't know. I'm sure they're doing fine still. I mean, those guys are hustlers, both of them. Anyways, that's the story that Benzino told about the source, and I thought that was really a really cool story. And you gotta always, no matter if Benzino's talking about Eminem or that other stuff or whatever, you gotta respect Benzino and Dave Mays for the Source magazine because that was just amazing. That's everybody. There's a few things like that are special that come around every once in a while. That was one of them. And I was lucky to be part of a couple things. The Come Up DVD, World Star, my music videos that I had, and then what I'm doing now. I've been lucky. I work hard, but I've been lucky to have these moments, and I cherish them. But I also love everything that I've done. I've actually put my heart into it. I've sacrificed a lot. I think we all do. When you love something, you sacrifice. But you have to be consistent, and there's no option of failing. You just gotta, work every day, nonstop, and sacrifice everything for what you enjoy, what you love, and it's worth it. It's worth it. It's a blessing to be able to do it. And I'm thankful every day. And you should be thankful if you have something like that in your life. I appreciate you guys, and I'll check you guys in the next one. This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, and I'll check you guys on the next one. Do not forget to hit that like button.